Simply by clicking on this video, you've shown that you're in a certain place. You're putting some time, effort and energy into making some positive changes for yourself. And that, I commend you. Very well done. And the gym, when you're first starting, can be quite a scary place. The whole process can be quite overwhelming. A little bit confusing too. And the more people you talk to, funnily enough, the more confusing it tends to get. And in this video today, I'm going to try and convince you that the gym isn't quite as scary as you might think that it is. And that going there for the first time, or perhaps going back for the first time in a while, will be just fine. And by the end of this video as well, you'll hopefully know that it's all about the journey that you're on and the incredible progress that awaits you, rather than where you're currently at and the struggles that you might be having. Pardon the interruption, just a quick note is that if you prefer content that's a little bit more shorter, concise, more well structured, fewer rambles, fewer tangents, fewer analogies, then there's a link in the description below to another video of mine talking about this subject, but in that manner. You're likely to get less context, but it's more straightforward and to the point, just to let you know. One of the most important questions really is, what is important to you? Why are you doing this? You have to answer that question and really be committed to it in order to make those first steps and to start that progress, something that you can commit to with consistency, something that appeals to you, that's important to you. And having a good idea about exactly what you want to get out of your time in the gym, or your gym experience as a whole at this stage where you're currently at, it's good to have a really clear, focused mind to block out all that noise. And when I say block out the noise, I generally tend to mean the noise not of machines going and weights clanging, people potentially grunting, although there's a good reason for that. Fascinating stuff, all about how the body works. But the noise is those that you perceive around you to be trying to sell you something, whether it's a product that you have to buy or it's an action that you apparently have to perform in order to get to your goals, which you can do for free, of course, or part of your membership or whatever. But there'll always be people trying to give you advice, and it always comes from a good place. We'll go through this as the video progresses. So number one, ensure that you've got accurate expectations. So expectations of the next time I walk into the gym, I'm going to feel in a certain way. I'm probably going to do X, Y, and Z. I might talk to so-and-so about this, that, and the other. I have a few questions that I'd like to get off my chest. Should I have the opportunity to do so? That kind of thing. What is your experience going to be like in that short term? And what are you going to gain from it? What are you going to walk away having achieved? It's not just going to be going through the motions, hopefully. It'll be, yes, I've walked in there, I've done this, I've asked this, or I've got this knowledge, and good. Now I'm going to go in again tomorrow or whenever and have some experience. These expectations, especially at this stage, really need to be addressed. And a really good goal or expectation to have of a goal is just to start feeling comfortable in the environment. You're going in there and you don't know what you're doing. It's all new. It's very foreign. What we want to do is to try and get rid of that feeling and go, right, actually that particular machine sitting on there felt okay. Didn't feel any prying eyes. I felt that I could sit comfortably. I didn't look ridiculous. I felt as though I could achieve something. If you have those feelings, then great, you've got a safe spot. And then develop several safe spots throughout the gym. So as you move around and you've got several dozen people and cameras obviously focused on you, then what can you do next? And maintain that feeling of comfort. That's something to establish and a few goals to have within your first session or two. And always be on the lookout for the next new person, because then that means that you're no longer the newbie. And that getting rid of that status is quite nice, quite satisfying. Like, I'm not the new person around here anymore, that person is. And that can be quite a confidence boost. And don't pass up on the gym tour. There'll be some fitness instructors eager to take you around, to let you know what they know. And experiencing the people, the machines, the smell. I don't mean just sweat, like the rubber dumbbells often have a certain smell to them, and the disinfectant that the incessant cleaners that like to clean all the time has, the aroma. It gets quite familiar, and getting familiar with a familiar smell makes you feel quite familiar. And another point, and we'll touch on this later on, is choosing the right gym, what to look for. Those factors are pretty important. And the chances are, especially if you do some research beforehand, you might hear about training splits, upper and lower body, antagonistic muscle groups, pushing and pulling, all these kind of things. And how many times do you train per week, and what muscles do you hit, and what's your technique like? Is it eccentric training that you're doing? All these things, they don't really matter. When you're going in there for the first time, it doesn't matter. These are intricate things for later on. So to always have that awareness, and this goes back to the expectations, when you hear language like that, when you hear questions and talk like that, fine, but just tune it out. This is the noise that I was talking about. Go in there with a specified goal and forget all the rest. The technique and the splits, they will all come later on. You've got to get your mind in the game first, and worrying about how you're dividing your body up into different parts to work out. Those are weeds at this stage. They're intricate details that you just don't need to concern yourself with. There'll be a time and a place, but it's not now. You might also be asked if you're just looking to lose weight and tone up. I've got to put that in, tone up. I can't stand that term. I'll touch on that probably in another video. That's a whole video to itself. But if you ever asked that question, it's a very standard question. I don't think anyone goes through a gym without being asked it. Just smile and nod and say, yep, that's me. And the other person and the person before me, just, here to do that. So just smile and nod and move on. Really important as well to choose the right gym. Go on a bit of a tour around the place. Figure out a couple of gyms you want to have a look at based on things such as parking and all of that kind of stuff, traffic that you'll encounter, all these factors that might deter you from going. Get rid of those. And then have a look at the gyms. What are the quiet times? Establish a basis in which to compare one against the other. Chat to the staff. Are they friendly? Do you get a good vibe? Make sure that you are accounting for all the things that appeal to you, and that will get rid of any reasons that you'll have for not going. And so when you actually get into the gym for the first time and you're looking at everything around you, just try and go through the motions, just like any other gym goer. You're there just to get a bit comfortable. Forget about how many reps and sets that you're doing, how many exercises that you're doing, and like I said before, all the different technicalities, the splits, what routine you're doing, because that will be one of the things that you're sat down to achieve. If you give off the impression, or indeed say out loud, that you've never been before, or that you need that hand, you'll be sat down straight away to devise a program. And it might be a bit of a daunting experience. So this program, what am I doing with that? I need a bit of help. Might have to cough up a bit of cash. But don't worry about it. Just say no thank you, and go and have a look and experience the gym for yourself. Or if the instructor is in no way pushing and will just be there with you as a bit of moral support, even better. And that's the sign of a great gym. So walk in, do what you wanted to do, fulfill those expectations that you have at the very beginning, and then walk out with the readiness to walk back in whenever the next day arrives. Maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's the next day, after the weekend. Who knows? As long as you can commit to doing it, then you're consistent at what you do, fine. It's half the battle. One big thing about the gym, and I've talked to several people, especially women, funnily enough, although men experience this as well, and as do I, and I'm experienced and happy being in the gym, know what I'm doing, I think. But it's all the prying eyes, or the perceived prying eyes. When you walk into a gym, you do generally tend to find that people are staring at you. And the question is, what are they staring at? I'm just another gym goer. They might check out what you're wearing, they might check out what they think the level is that you're at. Some people are competitive and they'll be like, oh, that person's in better shape than me, or I'm in better shape than them, or I wonder what they're going to do today and what their technique's like. If they're in better shape than me, then maybe I can learn a thing or two from them. So when people look at you or stare at you or take those continuous glances, when you look over at someone and their eyes just dart away from you, and then you look away again, and then you can feel them staring at you. So you look back and they look away straight away, and you've got that continuously strange interaction. And you never talk to each other, you just exchange these weird stares, and you just think, well, what are they staring at? But then they might be thinking the same too. They might be thinking, well, hang on, I can see you looking at me, which was actually you looking at me after I looked at you, and why are you looking at me for? And it all gets very confusing, and you just wish it never happened. So probably make the decision, if you want to feel comfortable, to just walk into the gym and don't look at anyone. Just look at yourself in the mirror, look at the equipment that you're heading for, stare at the dumbbells or the machines or the barbells that you're using, or whatever you do. The little dumbbells or the stretching thingy-majigs, I think that's what they're called, and just don't pay attention to anybody else. They might be staring at you out of jealousy, out of admiration, out of curiosity, or because they just want to help. Sometimes a newbie sticks out like a sore thumb, and people just want to help you because they get some satisfaction out of helping you, both from a personal point of view and knowing that it will help you. Because the whole gym experience is not necessarily easy, and the more experience that you get, the heavier the dumbbells get, and the more risk of injury there is. All the same, the more enjoyable the experience becomes, and the stronger you get and the better you feel about yourself. Depends which road you go down, and it could often be a bit of a tightrope. And people are aware of that, and how hard it is, the grind, the consistency, the commitment. And so if they can help someone, then they will. And all the same, if they can befriend someone, and I'll come to gym buddies in a moment, but if they can befriend someone and have a bit of a chat about the experience they're having, and somebody else is having the same experience too, then that makes that experience that they're having all that much easier to deal with. So there is a variety of reasons as to why you get the prying eyes and people checking each other out. It's not always for the negative reasons that you might think. So just bear that in mind as you're going in there, and don't feel quite so uncomfortable as what you originally thought you may feel, or at the time that it happens, you'll feel a natural bodily emotion. And just try to ignore that, and just remind yourself at the time that there are several reasons why that's occurring, and it's not necessarily correct to assume it's all for the negative ones. So the whole gym buddy scenario is an interesting one. It's really great if you can find someone who goes to the gym at the same time as you and is interested in doing the same things as you in the same way as you. I mean, that's an absolute freaking find if someone meets all those categories. But quite often you'll just find someone who's in a similar boat to you, has been doing it for similar reasons for the same amount of time, has the same kind of struggles, and that's plenty. If you bump into them at the water cooler, or you happen to share the next bench or the next machine over from them, then it's great just to have that sort of connection, that camaraderie. And it will be at different levels, of course, most of the time, and you'll be doing different routines, and then share those experiences, share those routines with one another and connect, because those connections are quite few and far between in a gym. Most of the time it's kind of heads down and, oh no, I'm here to do this, that and the other. And you can do this, that and the other with interactions in between rests and in between exercises, but it just seems to somewhat be awkward to do it. And if you can find someone who's going to be there around the same kind of time, and you bump into each other and just say g'day and carry on, it makes quite a difference to your whole routine, rather than going it alone, especially at the beginning of your time in the gym, or especially at the beginning of your gym experience. Motivation, I find, is the biggest downfall of people. You've got to have the motivation before you start being consistent. You've got to have the motivation to go to the gym, actually do what you need to do. And many people fall at this hurdle. So don't do that. So if you want to like and subscribe to this channel, of course, I think I managed to get the context right there. If you like and subscribe to the channel, maybe put a comment below, then we can all be part of the same community, encourage one another, and let you know that it's not all bad. If you're looking for advice, then this is a place to come to find that. And I'm sure there'll be many people trying to help you out, or wanting to help you out, or willing to help you out. And on that note, I know it's a bit late in the whole podcast thing, but sometimes I just get carried away. But my name is Simon from the Deep South Experiment. That's what you're listening to now. And this is a podcast which we focus on lots of fat loss, muscle building, and mindset. And the mindset's so incredibly important because that pulls everything together. Without it, everything else tends to fall apart. So those are the three main focuses of this podcast. And more information about me and the podcast is in the description below. And one of the main things to help you keep motivated, I always find, is just constantly reminding yourself about these expectations, that this whole journey that you're on is a slow yet incredibly rewarding daily grind. Aside from having to prepare your nutrition, think about, what am I going to eat today? In our household, that's a question that gets asked all the time, and the answer is often, I don't know. And it's infuriating. Anyway, having the nutritional plan and then executing that is one thing, but it's the whole going to the gym part as well that often makes people fall off the bandwagon. You get home and you sit on the couch, and then you probably want to sit there for the rest of the day or night. But instead, you've got to go to the gym. And it's that motivation to just keep going. Every day is a very small yet incredibly significant contribution to next month or next year. And just keep going. Keep having those expectations in place. And then every day that you do something, and maybe you don't really feel it some days, and you think, oh, well, it was a waste of time. But it's not. It helps your mindset stay focused. It keeps that consistency in place, and it does snowball in a while. It does snowball into next week, into next month, into next year. And before you know it, you've been doing this for years, and you're so glad and grateful that you have. And then you give yourself a pat in the back and you tell someone they don't care, and you think, ugh, just me then. But just remember, you've come this far, even by just watching this video out of curiosity. If you're just thinking about making a change, or thinking about going to the gym, or thinking, what's all that about? Just watching this and considering what I'm saying, and that's a step in this direction. But if you've already been to the gym and you're discouraged about going again, maybe because of the prying eyes, or you don't know what you're doing, don't worry about that. Go again. And if you're at that stage where you're going to go again, you have been, and you've already looked at videos such as this, and you've already accumulated a bit of knowledge and had those expectations, then don't stop now. You've come further than most people. Keep going and just take it day by day and achieve little steps at a time. And just make a promise to yourself. Don't worry about me, although if you want to make a promise to me to help you commit, great, I'm all here. I'm all ears. Well, two, in fact, probably the same as you. But just make that commitment to be consistent. That's the one thing that you've got to promise yourself. You can plan out the nutrition, keep to the nutrition, or perhaps have a cheat meal every now and again, or just not do as you perhaps intended to do. Or you go to the gym and you didn't quite manage to do the exercise that you planned to do, or that machine was a little bit busy, or there is a crowd of people over there that you didn't want to get too close to, so you went over there instead and did whatever else. Doesn't really matter. At this stage, it's about going and doing something productive and keeping your head in the game. At this stage, that's the real tough battle. So conquer it. And just remember, it's the journey that you're on. You're never going to be able to give 100% to the gym 100% of the time. But it's the showing up that matters. And if you can do that, be damn proud of yourself. So just before we go, I know our time has almost come to an end. Just remember one thing, and that what you're about to do is probably going to change your life for the better. And you're in total control of that. So you make that choice, you make those decisions, take action, and away you go. And I wish you all the very best.